Everybody, and good morning, and welcome back to the MD Investor Podcast. This is episode 24, and today we're going to be talking about buying your salary and your freedom. All right, so let's get into it. So, a lot of us might have very good careers. So, being a doctor, being a nurse, being a police officer, being a lawyer, whatever it may be, having a great career can be a gift and a curse at the same time, because what happens here is we have a high paying salary, and with the high paying salary comes better things in life. So what that means is you might have a better car, you might eat at better places, you might shop at better places, and because of that you're going to have a higher materialistic value set, and also you're going to have a higher cost of living, which means that sometimes as these careers progress, sometimes you have to pay off debts, the debts that you had to accumulate while being a student or while training, whatever it may be. But at the same time, you're also going to have to pay for that freedom. So what I mean by that is, what we're trying to do here is actually buy our freedom and buy a salary. Now, most people think that this sounds silly, but when it comes to investments, that is the only point of an investment. The purpose of an investment is to buy your financial freedom, and it does have a very particular cost. Now, most people don't realize this, but once you start planning for that particular cost and you start actually building towards what freedom means to you and what you want financially, then you can just buy whatever salary you want. It's just going to take you time to plan it out. Let me give you a very good example. The average salary of a $200,000 costs about $1.6 million to buy. Now I know what you're thinking, 1.6 million, that sounds absurd. How am I ever going to make that much money? But in reality, you can actually map this out very easily. So let's talk about this. Let's say that you're a physician, okay? Or let's say you're a lawyer, whatever it is. Let's say you make anywhere from $100,000 to $200,000 to $300,000 a year. If you're making $300,000 a year, if you're making $200,000 a year, and your salary is, let's say, $200,000 a year, you want to purchase that salary. That salary costs $1.6 million. Now you have a few options on how you want to buy that salary. You can do it the slow approach, you can actually do it the fast approach, or you can do whatever it takes in order to get an equivalent return. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the fast approach. The fast approach is creating services or products that exponentially explode how much you bring in as income. What does that mean? Selling. If you're able to sell to people, whatever it may be, whether you're selling courses, you're at like a coach, or maybe you're selling products, maybe you designed a line of leggings like spandex or something like that. What do they call them? Spanx. It's like, so if you create a product and that product is popular and consumers buy the product, then all of a sudden you're rapidly increasing your income. And when you rapidly increase your income, you can rapidly buy your salary. This is what's going to lead to financial freedom a lot quicker. So think about people who are very good at selling. You got like Robert Kiyosaki, your Rich Dad, Poor Dad, right? So what did he sell? He sold his books, he sold his programs, he sold his classes on real estate. So in this case, he was able to go from being extremely poor, being with his poor dad or whatever you may call it, to being very wealthy. And how did he create that wealth? Is by selling all these products, these programs. And even now you still get, like, you might get emails from him, you might read the book from time to time, whatever it may be. That's something that's going to actually help you produce more income. Other people who do the same thing, think about somebody like Grant Cardone. Grant Cardone does selling courses. In this case, he does syndication as well. So when he does syndication, he gets a whole bunch of people. They come to his 10X conference. They go, hey, I want to make more money. I want to 10X my money. Here, I'm an accredited investor. You give him $250,000 and he starts giving you your money back. But the way that he does syndication is he gets a whole bunch of people to give him $250,000, and now all of a sudden he has a few $1 million or a few $1 billion, and all of a sudden he uses that, leverages it, buys very expensive property. That property starts giving him a return. He divvies up that return on a monthly basis. So now you're getting a return on your investment. Now, again, that return could be anywhere from 10 to 20%, whatever it may be, and it's paid back over the course of years and years and years. Right? So that's how that works. That's an investment, and now you're buying a salary in return for that investment. Now, these things can be done yourself, because what we're doing is we're buying our salary. If you can live comfortably off $200,000, so what I mean is your house is paid for, it pays for your mortgage, it pays for your car, it pays for your groceries, it pays for your vacations, it pays for everything that you need, then you can start working on that salary. And $1.6 million is not a lot of money. in terms of you buying your freedom. It's a lot of money in one lump sum, and most people can't afford one lump sum, which is why you invest on a regular basis. So if you take that and you break that money down, right? So most people might buy a house and they'll go, okay, well, it's not bad. I'll take 30 years to pay off this house. However, you're paying 30 years because no house costs 30 years worth of money. It's not possible. What it costs is that you amortize something for 30 years, which means that you pay all of the interest up front in the first 3 to 5 years, and then you pay all the principal in the end. Does that make sense? So you give the bank all of their money first, whoever your lender is, and then you start paying it off. Now, when it comes to investing, if you're investing in stocks, if you're investing in real estate, if you're investing in e-commerce, whatever it may be that you're investing in, there is no one to amortize to in the beginning. So what you're doing is all of your money, if we're talking about stocks in particular, all of your money is going directly into what you're purchasing. So it's not going to take you 30 years. Hell, it won't even take you 20 years. It won't even take you 10 years, but it really depends on what your goal is and what you're aiming for. So in order to get that amount, most people will take 20 to 30% of their savings or of their income on a monthly basis and start aiming to buy your salary. So let's talk about this. If you want to buy your salary and your salary is $200,000, let's take the real estate approach, for example. When you're buying real estate, the goal is to create passive income so that the income from the real estate is going to start superseding your expenses. That way, your salary was going to be covered. Once your salary starts to become covered, you're essentially financially free. Once your expenses become covered, you're financially independent. So you want independence and then you want freedom. Independence means whether or not you go to work, everything you do is covered. It's paid for already, right? So let's break that down. If you have a house and your house that you personally live in costs you, let's say, $3,000 a month, now what we need is the expenses to cover that $3,000. And that's how we start scaling. So if you buy a duplex property or a fourplex property, let's say that property costs $200,000 and you use 20% down, let's say you put 20 grand plus your closing costs, you buy that property. Each unit in that property, it's a duplex, 2 sides, costs $1,200. Now we're at $2,400. You already have to deduct the closing costs because you put that money up front, right? So you put $20,000 plus the closing costs. Let's say it costs you $28,000 out of pocket altogether. So you're starting off at a net decrease because you already paid for that property. Now you have $2,400 a month coming in. You're going to have a mortgage on that property, right? That's how much it costs. Now imagine this. Imagine the mortgage is $2,000. If the mortgage is $2,000, that includes everything. Property management, that includes the contingencies. Let's say $2,000 is a very safe place that you're at. And it's bringing in $2,400. So buying that property has created a $400 net cash flow on a monthly basis. So if we go $400 times 12 or $400 times 10 is 400, right? Times 12, that's 800 more, whatever. That's going to be your salary. So you used $20,000, $28,000 to buy a salary worth $1,200. Does that make sense? So now on an annual basis, you're creating a net income to where you're getting cash flow of positive $400 every single month. Now, that is how you start to build your salary. You're buying a salary either bit by bit, either through real estate or through stocks. If you're doing it through stocks, then what happens is once you buy a company, that company is going to have a dividend yield to it. So if you're doing long-term investing, not trading, not doing options and things like that, I'm just talking about literally buying your salary. If we're doing it through stocks, maybe you don't want to deal with property, you don't want to deal with toilets, you don't want to deal with tenants, you don't want to deal with people like, breaking the oven in the middle of the night and calling you, whatever it may be. If you want to deal with stocks instead, where you don't have to deal with anyone, you just buy the stocks. Now we're talking about whatever the dividend yield is. Let's take, for example, a company like Apple. Apple has a dividend yield of, I think, 0.4%. So in that case, Apple is currently sitting around something like 140 or so. So 0.4% of that means that you're bringing in 0.4% of the entire share. So for every $140 that you spend, you would get 0.4%. Let's just round it to 0.5% and say it's something like that. So imagine every time you buy a share, you get $6 in return. Okay, so for $140, the math is not going to be 100%. I'm not sitting here on a calculator, but you get the idea. So for every $140 you spend buying one share of Apple, you get $6 in dividends in return. Think about it like that. So, how much money would you need in order to create a positive cash flow? This is why I'm saying the average amount that you must spend in order to create a salary worth $200,000 is about 1.6 million. So if you spent $1.6 million worth of Apple stock, eventually what would happen is you would get a dividend that's going to reach you the course of $200,000 per year. Now think about Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway and what they own. They own large percentages of a lot of companies. Like they own a huge percentage of Coca-Cola. They own a huge percentage of things like certain gas stations like Love's and things like that. They also own a huge percentage of other companies. He did have a massive, massive portfolio on Apple, but he sold a lot of that. Because when it comes to making money, you have to do the buying and you have to do the selling. If you're just buying and you never sell, then you're not going to make gross profit, right? So that's what we talked about, having a fast approach. So the fast approach is creating some kind of product that you can sell. You have to sell, right? You buy it at a very low price and then you're selling it. Now, the slower approach is what I'm talking about now. Building up a real estate portfolio will help you to create enough passive income to where you can buy your salary. So, if you're a doctor and you're making 300,000, this is why it starts getting harder. If you ever played the game Cash Flow, I love playing that game. That's like one of the Robert Kiyosaki games that he made. So, if you ever played Cash Flow, you have to exceed the amount of expenses on a regular basis in order to pass your entire expenses. Once you pass your entire expenses, you get out of the rat race. Once you're out of the rat race, you can start working on your dreams, things that you're actually passionate about, things that you didn't know about. Because here's the truth, when it comes time to retire, no one wants to retire at the age of 70 and then go, hey, I want to go zip line in Costa Rica. I've wanted to do this all my life. No, you wanted to zip line in Costa Rica in your 30s and in your 20s. But it took you 20, 30 years working for somebody else in order to go enjoy ziplining in Costa Rica, or to go enjoy skydiving in Dubai, or to go seeing, the Burj Khalifa. Like, it took you 20 to 30 years because you had to work on working. You spent all your time working. Oh, I can't get vacation time. If I want to go to Dubai and I have to fly there and fly back, if I'm going on the Emirates, that's an $8,000 ticket, and I have to fly there and I have to fly back and I have to fly with my family. That's a $30,000 plane trip just to get there. Not to mention that it's all five-star hotels and I'm paying like, $2,000 a night to stay somewhere. So if that's the case, you're like, oh, I gotta wait. I gotta work. I can't. I have to save. I have to do this. In the meantime, you can buy your salary and buy your freedom. So now, if you start planning aggressively, some people start buying things that are just liabilities and not making the money. You go and buy a house that you're going to live in, and you might not even like the house. You buy the house, and now it's just a liability. You live there, it doesn't make you any money. So if it's not making you money, it's a liability. You might have a very nice car. You might have a Porsche or a Bentley or a Tesla, and you're extremely proud of the car. You love showing it off. You love how fast the Plaid is, whatever it may be. However, if that car's not making you money, it's just a liability. Now imagine instead of buying the $100,000 Tesla, you just bought the Kia. Is a Kia super cute? No, not really. Is a Kia gonna make you look super cool and pull a whole bunch of girls for you? Whatever it is, no, not really. However, if you did the difference and bought that in Tesla stock instead, the Tesla would be paid for by Tesla. Tesla stock will pay for you to buy a new Tesla. Or stock in different General Motors might pay for you to buy the new Porsche or whatever it may be. You see what I'm saying? The goal is that we already talked about having a subscription to live. The best part of having a subscription to live is that you don't have to pay that subscription. Other people can. So let me give you simple ideas and simple approaches to where you can make everything in your life be something that can be paid for so that you can buy your salary. Let's say, for example, you love going to a very particular gym. There was a very particular gym that I liked going to before I moved, and at that gym, they didn't have vending machines. So it was very simple to say, hey, you know what I want to do? I want to place vending machines here. Are you okay with that? Yeah, sure. How about this? Whatever the vending machines make, you can have 10%. That should cover the electricity, and plus you make profit from it because they're low efficiency anyway, right? Like they're high efficiency, like low energy anyway. So if each of the machines cost me about 10 grand, then I go and spend like $200 at Sam's Club to get everything stocked up. I find somebody else in the gym, a young kid. I'm like, hey, you want to make some money? Great. How about this? Every single week, you're going to check on this machine. If it's low, it's stocked up. I have all this stuff from Sam's Club. Keep it at your house. Keep some stuff in your car. Whenever you're coming to the gym, because you always come to this gym anyway, just stack up the machine and I'll split everything with you. A lot of times it's just digital. Most people use their card. A lot of people aren't using cash most of the time. So all the money's coming in digitally. Yo, I'll Zelle you some money or I'll shoot you some money. And now all of a sudden, guess what? My membership to the gym is now paid for. This kid is actually doing all the heavy lifting and the work. Why? Because he's going to go to the store. He's going to fill the machine with snacks. He's going to fill the machine with drinks. He's going, like, the machine is going to be paid for by the machines. Like, now I'm not paying for the machines. I'm not paying for the gym membership, and I'm paying this kid and I'm paying the gym. It works out perfectly. So now in this case, something that I want is being paid for by someone else. So your subscription to Live is getting paid for by someone else. Same thing with your house, same thing with your car. If you want your car, maybe you rent it out on Turo or something of that nature. If you want your house, you could even use it for Airbnb. If you have a vacation home or if you have other homes, this is how people start creating wealth, by using real estate and using leverage. Because when other people start paying you, now we're starting to get somewhere. This is how we buy our salary, and this is how we buy our freedom. And once you scale it to higher and higher levels, then now everything that you do is optional. That is what makes life feel fun and makes life feel free. It is not fun and it's not enjoyable if things are not optional. If you have the option to go to work and you choose to still go, that's because you like it. That is a huge difference between liking something and being obligated. If you're like, man, I have to pay this house note, man, I have to pay this car note, man, I have to pay all of these bills, I have to go to work, and I hate this job. If you hate the job and you have to go to work, you're going to be tired, you're going to be depressed, you're going to be burnt out. They're working you too hard. They're making you cover nights when you didn't expect it. Like, it's supposed to be 7 on, 7 off, and you're working 10 days in a row. You're just exhausted, right? It's not optional for you. But if you're part-time, if you like teaching, if you're working with residents, whatever it may be, or if you're a lawyer and you're like, I don't have to work for this firm, I can work on I work on pro bono things. I can do what I want to do because I took a plan and made this happen. So you can have a 3 or 5 year plan and you say, hey, over 3 or 5 years, I'm going to make this plan to grossly accelerate my income. And if I'm not going to grossly accelerate my income, then I can make a plan, maybe that's 10 to 20 years. I'll work here for 10 years or 20 years. And then over the course of time, if I'm saving 20% of my entire income or 30% of my income, now I can use that to pay for my retirement. Now, of course, you can always alter that. You don't have to use 20%. Now, see, for myself, I drastically wanted to change this. So I went from using like 90% of my income to live off of to eliminating almost all of that, downsizing everything, downsizing my house, downsizing everything that I need, downsizing the car. Like, I don't need all of these fancy things. Now, instead of having all of these fancy things and spending my money and giving it to other people, I started using 90% of my money for investing. So I was like, okay, instead of doing this, I'm going to buy property. Instead of doing this, I'm going to buy trucks. Instead of doing this, I'm going to do e-commerce. So now all of my money was going into investing, like all of it. So when people were like, Doc, you're broke all the time. You never want to go out for lunch. You never want to go out to party. That's because I don't want to do those things. I want to invest so I could be free. So now when those same people are like, hey, how come you're never at work? Because I'm already free. I don't have to do it anymore. Like, I don't have to do it because I put all of my money into investing. I put it into the stocks. I put it into the trucks. I put it into the e-commerce. I put it into everything in order to help me get to where I want to be. Does that make sense? So it's difficult because you're going to have to make some sacrifices. You're going to have to talk to your spouse. If you're alone, if you're single, then it's perfect because then you don't have to talk to anyone but yourself. But buying your salary is possible. Buying your freedom is possible. You just have to start taking steps to get there. And if you need help, if you need organization, you don't know where to start, you're like, hey, I really do want to buy real estate, but where do I start? It doesn't matter if you're a medical student, you can still start. It doesn't matter if you're a student undergrad, you can still start. It doesn't matter if you're not a student at all, you just want to actually learn about it, you can still start. It's just a matter of taking action. Once you take action, you win. That's how the game works, right? Any game where you sit on the sidelines and do anything and you do nothing, you can't win. But once you take action, you're already on the right path to winning. So here I want to help you guys understand that buying your salary and buying your freedom is extremely possible, and it can get you to the next level in life so you can actually enjoy life. You can actually have fun in life. You can actually go ziplining in Costa Rica and you don't have to wait until you're 70 years old. All right? So I'm wishing you guys all the best. I'm wishing you health, wealth, and happiness like always. And I wish that you guys whatever you need, I'm here to help. So if you do need help, you can always head over to the mdinvestor.com where we have coaching, we have whatever you guys need in order to get you started on your investment journey. That's what I am here for, because it's not taught in schools and it's not taught where you need it to be taught. So in this case, I made it my goal and my mission to help as many people as possible get to the next level. So I'm here for you guys. So again, health, wealth, and happiness. And I will see you guys in the next podcast. You guys have a good one.